Welcome back to Fourth and Favre. This is episode 21, 2-1.
Oh.
Brett, we're post Super Bowl, but we got to stay with the numbers. What does 21 stand for?
Well, the number that comes to mind is Deion.
100%. You got it right. So tell me, Brett, is he the greatest cornerback of all time?
No, there's not even anyone close. I mean, I had the privilege of playing with him and watching it firsthand. And I had the not so privileged opportunity to play against him. And I threw him a couple touchdowns. Let's just say that. Deion was a difference maker as a punt returner, as a kick returner, and certainly as a corner. You didn't have to worry about that position. So whoever Deion was covering was, like I said, when I would throw it to him, bad things would happen. Good things for him, bad things for me and our team. But that's the deal with Deion. You challenge him or you block Reggie White one-on-one, you're asking for trouble. So when Deion lines up on someone and you say, I'm gonna test him, you're probably gonna get disappointed. But he worked hard in practice. I saw it firsthand. And the one thing about Deion, he would tell you straight up, they don't pay me to tackle, which I seen him tackle. I mean, it was a half-hearted tackle, but what his his deal was shut down whoever he was guarding, and he was the best at it.
What was the margin of error when you threw on Dion that you had to work with?
Well, Deion would bait you. And I knew this firsthand because I practiced with him every day. And if you didn't make a perfect throw where only your receiver could catch it, and even then it was a toss up. He would, his deal was he would give you a 5-yard cushion and you would say wide open, and he would close the gap like instantaneously, and pick it off or bat it away. The best thing you could have done was not throw it to him. I know. I mean, you could, like, there were times there are certain plays you could complete it on him. And that would be like shallow crosses across the field where there was a lot of contact and traffic that he had to navigate through. You line your receiver up, run an out route, a go route, a corner route, a hook route to his side. You're defeating the purpose. I mean, you as Holmgren used to say, you're trying to pound sand up a flea's rear end. It just ain't gonna happen. So I don't know. The margin of error was very. There was a couple throws that Sam Darnold threw the other night that were incomplete. One, I'm trying to think of the cornerback that was guarding him, but he played exceptionally well in the game. The corner I'm thinking of, Christian
Gonzalez.
Yeah. They ran like a post, threw it a little behind him, and it was almost picked. But if he would have thrown it out where only his guy could catch it, he had a chance for a touchdown. And with Deion, you can't make that mistake. He would have picked it. If you don't put it like it's got to be hot and down in front, which is asking a lot, but that's what you got to do.
And you've played against a lot of great corners. There's been many great corners in the NFL: Champ Bailey, Darryl Green, Richard Sherman. There's a list of lockdown corners. But with Dion, was there a gap between him and whoever was number 2 in your mind?
I would say without a doubt that he stood alone. Mount Rushmore of corners. He stood alone, and then you had everyone else.
Brett, episode 21, as we get rolling, I'm wearing a Team Quest shirt. Dan Henderson, his Twitter account got hacked. We were talking yesterday about it. I said, hey, are you signing MacBook Pros? and sending them to a charity? He's like, "No, I have no idea what you're talking about." So, I just wanna say, whoever hacked his account, I just hope you don't ever come across Dan Henderson because there's
Right.
called an H bomb he has on his right hand.
I we like to call it down here in Mississippi an ass whooping.
I don't know why you would wanna hack, of all people, Dan Henderson, but he did have a tweet that went viral about, being proud to represent the United States. There was an American skier, Hunter Hess, made some comments, and since then, he's clarified his stance, and the one thing that I said was, when they asked me in an interview, I said, "I would just wanna talk to him to see his story, his backstory, and bring people together." I know we have these stories that divide people, but, me and you, I mean, you see Hendo's colors are red, white, and blue. You bleed it as well, but what does that mean when people have a platform to bring people from the United States together?
Yeah, I saw the comments. I didn't watch the whole thing. I honestly, I know how the media can bait you, uh, and they can do it very well, subtly, and before you know it, you stepped into a hornet's nest. I've stepped into a many of hornet's nests myself. I don't know the young man. I don't know anything about him. I'm like you. I saw where he went back and clarified or cleared up the air. Um, I'm glad he did that. I wish that he would have not had to do that, but uh, there's so much pressure from really one side to to say and do things that are, how do I word it, are not conducive to the United States and what we stand for and so on and so forth. And you know, I, I don't I don't expect everyone to agree with everything that is going on in this country. But bottom line is, it's a pretty doggone country. The luxuries that we all have. Are we perfect? By no means are we perfect. But we got a pretty good gig going here. And you're competing for the Olympics in the Olympics, whatever your specialty is. That's a luxury. That's an honor. That's a blessing. Be grateful that you're in the position you're in. And and I think he was. I know certainly when he backtracked and cleared it up, he he seemed uh in a much better place and clear headed.
Yeah, no, there's comments I followed up I thought were great, the clarification and even us people like us who we're not trying to be part of the issue. We want to bring people together and just learn about people. I think the biggest thing is how do you get to know someone is by talking to them and getting to know their story. Uh, Jumping in the Super Bowl, speaking of divisiveness, Bad Bunny, this thing went viral. It had a visceral effect of Bad Bunny performing versus the All American show with Kid Rock and Lee Brice. And one of the things that I was thinking about, I didn't watch neither, Brett. I was on a plane coming back from San Francisco. So, uh, my sentiment was this, like, if you wanna watch the Bad Bunny show, that's great. If you wanna watch the All American show, that's great. If you wanna watch a sermon, that's great. If you don't wanna watch anything at all or shoot some hoops, that's okay too, but it created this tornado inside of a telephone booth amongst not just the country, but worldwide. Why do you think this made such a crescendo effect?
Well, I know Puerto Rico is part of the United States, so I, I want to clear that up right away. And there are some very good people in Puerto Rico. I have several friends uh, that live there now, and they're first class individuals. I don't know Bad Bunny. I really don't know anything about him, but I go off of really what I heard prior when he got named as the act and some of the things that he stood for true or not, uh, I was opposed to, uh, and said some negative things about the United States. Uh, and I'm thinking, if this is true at all, why even subject the league and the players, the fans to have to even talk about it, to have to even have a I'm gonna use a sit down, at the table and let's hash it out. Why even put yourself in that situation? Whether it's country, R&B, pop rock, whatever. Find someone uh, who loves this country and is honored and grateful that you would ask them to sing at halftime. You're not always going to agree with the music. I mean, there's some outstanding people that are singers that I don't particularly. I don't want to say I dislike their music, but it's not my cup of tea. But I would watch it, you know, especially if they're patriots and they love this country. Uh, so um, it was a head scratcher. There's no doubt the guy is popular in the United States. I don't know how popular he is. I haven't seen any numbers, nor do I care. But he's widely popular, and at all accounts was he got a lot more views than the Turning Point. But I'm like you, you know, watch what you want. But with the league, I just don't understand. I can't say there's more popular artists out there that were available to do it. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. But I think there's more patriots, way more patriots that would do it. That again, whether you relate to them or not, you relate to the fact that they love this country.
One of the interesting tweets that came out was JJ Watt after the halftime show. He said, I don't understand what he's saying. It's a vibe. And me being half Mexican, I don't understand Spanish all the way, but when they translated some of the lyrics, they were pretty far out there, and I think if they were in English, it might have been bleeped out throughout, so, again, I don't understand it, but one of the he is widely popular, as we spoke about, but this effect it created, yes, it might have brought more eyes, but from people that have talked to me is if they liked him, they didn't watch the game, they just watched it for the halftime show, so did the league really achieve what they were trying to do?
Who knows? Who knows what they were trying to achieve? I don't know. I mean, they certainly don't need to generate more followers and fans of the game. I mean, you're always looking to improve, but they got a huge following, a cult following. I would be more cautious on losing rather than gaining.
Well, let me ask you, Brett, when you played the game, did you play the game to gain new fans for yourself or the NFL, or did you play the game of football because you loved it?
I played it because I loved it. I, I knew from day one, first time I ever put a football in my hand, my dad was a high school football coach. I don't know how old I was, but barely old enough to walk. That was what I wanted to do. And hanging out at practice with my dad, riding home back and forth with him when I was a youngster, running out balls and was a water boy, whatever. I wanted to be a part of it. And so I knew that was what I was destined to do. And I think people who watch me, whether you were a fan or not, could appreciate the enthusiasm and the determination to win and enjoy the game that I didn't always win, wasn't always pretty. In fact, at times it was ugly, but it was the best I could do. And no one could ever say, well, he didn't give it 110% because that I did every time. So that was my calling.
So let's just say you weren't making millions of dollars and you were making a teacher's salary, but you could live off of it. Would you have still stuck to football and played for that wage?
Absolutely, absolutely. I loved it. I don't know if I'd have played 20 years, uh, but I definitely would have played.
Brett, after the Super Bowl, when one of the 49er got involved in an altercation with allegedly a rapper, a little baby, and was shot in the ankle, he'll be fine. But like these after Super Bowl parties, I know Kenneth Walker talked about he went home to his family, right? The MVP. He didn't go out and party. Sam Darnold didn't go out and party. What did you do after your Super Bowl 31 victory? And then what did you do in San Diego after the loss?
Uh, San Diego didn't do anything but lick my wounds and feel sorry for myself. In New Orleans, we went out to a team function that, you know, you hope as both teams that you're going to have the winning party. We had the winning party. We went to that. I can't remember who the performers were that played uh, at the party, but then we went out to Bourbon Street. Not the whole team, but majority of the team and their wives, and we just lived it up. Uh, had soaked it all in. It was a good moment.
How much security did you all have to have around your police when you were down there?
David, I really don't remember. That was so long ago, sadly, that I don't remember. But I'm assuming now times were different then. But I I don't know the answer to that question. But I would say we had probably good enough security that we had no altercations.
And you weren't hounded by fans either asking for I mean, that was before the cell phone, but for autographs?
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly, I don't remember much in regards to that, but I'm sure there were moments where people would ask.
Let's get to the actual Super Bowl itself, 29-13. Brett, on our podcast, Fourth and Favre, we kind of saw midway through the season, hey, the Seahawks are better than people are saying because we weren't even talking about them at the beginning of the season. That defense, and I remember that game against the 49ers where they absolutely shut down Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense. I said, well, their defense seems different, but there's no superstars. And you kind of called it like, hey, you don't need to have superstars, but it's that team chemistry that they put together. What was that formula, and how did you see the game playing out?
Well, I knew their defense was good, and I think I know I said it on other podcasts or interviews that I was asked about. And what I'm referring to is what I thought the score would be, how I thought it would play out. And I thought it would come down to who had the ball last. I don't think I said it would be high scoring, but I said it would be close. Well, I was wrong. I mean, that was a stellar defensive performance. One that not quite as good, but almost as good as the Chicago Bears in '86, where they just absolutely dominated the game. And no disrespect to any defensive player on that team, but and that they may have actually used this as a slogan. We're the guys you never heard of, but we come and we dominate, and they certainly did that. They're very good against the run, which is a good place to start. If you can shut down the run, you make a team one dimensional. There were times when Drake may. So there were times when Drake had an opportunity to complete the pass. And uncharacteristic of him, he was off. I attribute that to some people may say, well, that's the Super Bowl nerves or whatever. Those only last until the first play. When you when you line it up kick it off, and you start playing, you forget all the other stuff. He was uncharacteristically off throughout the game. He had that moment there. He threw a great pass across the middle, and the very next play threw a touchdown. And I thought, okay, but it never got any better. Uh, and I attribute that to they were one dimensional, and he had opportunities to make throws, but the windows were closing quick, and the rush lanes were. I mean, they got after it. They got after him pretty good, and pushed the whole line around a little bit for the New England Patriots. So uh, they're a handful. I mean, I'm extremely impressed with them. And Seattle's offense did that. Kenneth Walker is a stud, and the first guy does not tackle him, and his feet and legs are moving. In fact, it cracks me up. He's small, and they get in a big wad, and you'd see the wad moving, and they'd slow it down. You see his legs just a churning. That dude's a player. Sam Darnold, and I said this on previous shows. I'm pulling for him. Nothing against Drake May, uh, Matt, or Mike Vrabel, their team. I really had no dog in the hunt, but I was pulling for Sam for obvious reasons. He's been kicked to the curb one too many times, and it was nice to see him get a Super Bowl win.
Brett, just getting back to the Drake May, I thought maybe if they ran a few more RPOs using Drake's legs or some screens to mitigate that rush, do you think that might have alleviated some of the pressure from the run that they were stopping so well?
Well, maybe, but we're playing Monday morning quarterback, uh, and that's always a lot easier to do than being the actual quarterback or the actual person calling the plays. Everyone's got a better play or a better idea. Uh, New England, they did some great things this year, and they had some wonderful coaching. Josh McDaniel is one of the premier coaches in the league. So I'm not going to say that he should have done something different. It'd be easy to do that, but I think that they pretty much stuck with what got them there, which makes sense, and it just wasn't enough.
And what were you saying about Kenneth Walker? What was fascinating when you watch him run, he kind of like gets the ball and walks to the line, and then his feet kind of do a dance. And when you saw his backup come in, I mean, he just hits the hole. But Walker, there's something special about the way he moves his feet. It's like a dance.
Well, it's called patience. He's got patience like no running back I've ever seen. It's a very unorthodox way of uh, playing running back, where you get the ball and you wait for the hole to develop. And running back coaches, it drives them crazy when running backs do that. They want them to hit the hole,
Mhm.
and y- you can't argue with the fact that it works for him. I mean, he's very quick. He's got a lot of power, and he's got great vision. So he kind of lets it sort out, and then he hits the window, and he hits it full speed. Uh, they got him a couple of times, or maybe no gain or loss of one, but overall, he was playing in their territory every time. Very fun to watch, entertaining.
Do you think he deserved the MVP, or do you think they should have gave it to Darnold or someone else?
I who did they give it to?
Yeah, Kenneth Walker got the MVP.
Well, I can't argue against him. I was at one time I said the kicker's going to get it. He had 4 or 5 field goals, and that was the only scoring. So if Walker didn't get it, the kicker should have got it. So they got it right.
The predictions that we had, you thought that the score wouldn't be more than a touchdown away. I predicted 38-24, so I was off, but I had the point margin almost right. Brett, Hail Mary questions. You get 2 today. The first one is, who's your early favorite pick to be in the Super Bowl again? Is it Seahawks and someone else or 2 new teams?
Well, I I would have never predicted the Seahawks and the Patriots to be in the last Super Bowl, but that was a good thing. It was a change of scenery for everyone, and 2 good teams that came out of nowhere. John Snyder's a friend of mine. We go way back. He's a GM of Seattle, did a hell of a job with that program. Hell of a job. I don't suspect that he will miss a beat, and barring injuries and all that stuff, I think they'll be back. I don't see why they wouldn't. The other side is maybe a little more challenging. Uh, Patriots could easily come back, but so could Buffalo. I mean, they've been on the verge forever. I mean, they got a, they hired a new coach, and new hopes, or new dreams, whatever. But can they get past New England, and can they get over the hump, and get there? Time will tell. But there's a lot of hot on your heel teams, as I like to call it. The Chargers are there. You can't rule Kansas City out. As long as they have Mahomes and Andy, they got a shot. Uh, so you got to figure your Baltimore's and the Texans are on the verge. Jacksonville got close. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could potentially jump up in there, but right now you got to give it to Seattle and New England. New England's got a good young team, a very good young quarterback, an excellent quarterback, and when you have that, you have an opportunity to win. Because look at Josh Allen. I mean, he has him in position just about every year. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
To your point, Brett, and I agree with you. Seattle and what Mike McDonald's has been able to come in and do has been phenomenal. I mean, he had a kind of a nice moment with his wife and daughter, and she said, "You did it," and then he was like, "We did it," and it was just a really nice moment when you don't think you can do it, but you think you can do it, and then it gets done. And obviously, AFC is wide open, Brett. Mahomes coming off ACL surgery, so we'll see how that goes. But the doubleheader, Hail Mary question, you next year halftime show, you can go back in time and pick anybody you want to perform. I'm gonna give you my picks. I would have Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, and Smokey Robinson. That's the 4 I'm gonna go with. If I could choose all time, alive or dead, who would you go with, alive or dead, to perform at a halftime show?
Well, first of all, I would definitely put Whitney Houston singing the national anthem. She
Uh,
killed it. She absolutely killed it. It was, if you didn't have a tear in your eye, and that brought people together. But her voice was magical. So I would put her singing the national anthem and get the party started right. Halftime, if Michael Jackson, if I could get him back,
right.
hell yeah, I would have him out there headlining. But y- you know, um, what was it, 6, 7 years ago, the Super Bowl in L.A. and Dr. Dre. It was awesome. It brought me back to my younger days. Someone or some group that will get you. My toe was tapping, man. Uh, 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 you know, uh, uh, I was singing word for word with them. Somebody like that. And Michael Jackson, I was a huge Michael Jackson fan. Never could dance like him, but I could sing like him. That's a lie. But if Michael could come back, I'm all for that. Uh, so and that was kind of my era. The Backstreet Boys, the Boys to Men,
Right.
uh, Cool in the Gang. That was my time. Babyface, um, Keith Sweat. That was my era. So anybody from that era.
I mean, I would even bring back the Rat Pack. I mean, I love me some Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Frank
Yeah.
Sinatra, some of their tunes. Brett, it was good seeing you. And the last thing I have to say, were you the one that hacked Hendo's account, or can we take you off the list of people that hacked his account?
I think you and Hendo can answer that. I wouldn't know where to start to hack an account. Have no clue.
Brett, we'll see you next time.
You got it.